The Adventures of Batman.
Welcoming you to the new adventures of Batman.
Welcome to BOF's Batmanimation Podcast, where we take on and discuss, analyze, and talk about the various animated adventures of the Caped Crusader. I am the founder of Batman on Film, Bill Ramey, and join me today back for another podcast is BOF fan and Batman fan. Patrick, how long have you been a Batman fan? Patrick Johnson, everybody.
Good morning.
How long's your fandom?
I would probably
gone?
say 43 years.
Okay,
so I'm 48 now, so probably around 4 or 5 is when I discovered him. From your favorite cartoon, the New Adventures of Batman from 1977.
Yes. Even then, I think we've done one episode of it on this series here, this show, but even then, the 11, 12-year-old me in 1977 said, this is kind of dumb. Even then, I was still getting up watching Saturday morning cartoons. So, yeah.
I was too young to know the difference at that time.
Yes.
But now trying to rewatch it is a chore, I'll tell you.
I mean, it makes like the previous one, The Adventures of Batman, that old, the Filmation one, the original, makes it look like Batman the Animated Series almost,
True.
Yep. As far as it was something else. So anyway, we're going to go to the Batman, not the Batman movie that was the live action Matt Reeves, Robert Pattinson movie that was in theaters last year. We're going to talk about the animated series, the Batman. And that thing is almost 20 years old. That's hard to believe, huh?
Yeah. Yep. What is it, 04? I think it was when it started.
Yeah. There was always kind of a period where there would be something like a new Batman movie would come out, and they always, a lot of times they would coincide a animated series, around the time it was coming out. So this one came out right, while Batman Begins was filming and in pre-production and went through, it was still running. Hell, it went 5 seasons.
Right.
Which is amazing. And, it featured a younger Batman. I remember hearing about it when I first heard about it. They said it was going to be a younger Batman. I presumed it was going to be a prequel to Batman the Animated Series. I didn't realize it was like a whole new take until, you got the first, what do you call it? The publicity stuff started coming out, the stills and little clips and whatever. And I went, okay, this is different. So
what were you doing at the time when this came out? Like, where were you? Were you in, because I have an interesting side note about that.
Let me think. 2004. Well, I mean, at that point, Batman on Film is in its 6th year. And I'm covering Batman Begins like a son of a gun. So yeah. So I'm down in Tomball, Texas. I'm still coaching, and I mean, that was the early days of Batman on Film, because it was and I covered all of it. I think I reviewed every episode of this at one time, and a lot of them I didn't transfer over to when I upgraded the site in 2018. But they're still, I have them. I just would have to migrate them over. But a lot of times I'll go back, like we'll do this episode. I'll talk the Laughing Bat we're going to talk about. I'll go find it. I'll find the old file and I'll migrate it over just because we talked about it. So I've done that as we've gone through this Batmanimation series. So what story do you have?
Well, when I was in 05, I'm not sure if it started airing in 04 or 05, but I hadn't seen it yet. And I was I was in New York for about 7 months during that time. I was playing in like 3 bands, and I had 2 part-time jobs.
Yeah.
One was working for this computer company, and the other one, which I would go there in the morning, and then, you can only do this in New York. And then for the second half of the day, my friend owned a comic book store, and I was the manager of this comic book store for a short time.
Yeah.
And the talk around the time was that this was too kiddie after coming off the Batman animated series.
Yeah.
And my friends didn't like it. And then I checked it out, and I can see their gripes a little bit because it is a little lighter, but there are some darker elements to it, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it's coming off of a really great one, so you're always going to get comparisons, but I didn't have any real complaints about it. I thought it was pretty fun.
No, I thought that. I mean, it was Saturday mornings.
Yeah, I guess that's the best way to describe it.
On Fox, but it wasn't like 1970s and 80s Saturday mornings, because
right. No,
I lived through that. So, but it was geared to a little younger, but man, it really didn't come off like, oh, this is like Bat Wheels or something, these ones that are straight up targeted to like kids in their single digits age wise. And there was some dark stuff. I mean, that the Batman versus Dracula movie is pretty, it's pretty, I don't know what, if dark is it's kind of dark. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Especially the way the Joker in that, that'd be a good movie to discuss like in October around Halloween.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
The way the Joker in that, and I'll leave it. Yeah, I'll write. We're going to do that one point to do the Batman versus Dracula. But yeah, there was some things here that were probably, if you were a single digit kid, maybe a little shocking to you. Yeah. And I didn't think it really got too kiddified, if you will, until was it just the last season or the last couple seasons when they started almost
brought in
become
Robin,
like it was, you brought in Robin, you had Batgirl first, then Robin, and then you started bringing in all of these Justice League characters. The Superman showed up and the Flash, and there was it became like almost like a pseudo Justice League series. So that got a little bit away from what I liked about it. But I remember when it ended, I remember writing article like, I'm going to miss the Batman, because I mean, like I said, it had a 5-year run. So you had animated Batman to kind of tide you over, in a way,
right?
Between the Dark Knight trilogy films. So yeah, I liked it a whole lot. There's some episodes I really like, and when you brought this one up, I hadn't watched it in a long time, and I remembered the premise, not all the details, and it's not like it's certainly not again, I don't want to go like dark, but
right.
It's not bright and happy, this episode,
no. It's almost like a dark comedy a little bit, where it's not like, it's a fine line you got to balance there, where it's not too dark for the kids, but interesting enough for the older crowd. And I think you hit on something with the last few seasons. As soon as they switched that theme song, it's like the whole tone shifted for the show.
Yeah.
Because I thought the Edge's version, and we talked about bringing this song up, was really great and kind of creepy, almost a little uncharacteristic for the show you got, because it was so kind of dark and cool. But I loved it. I loved that whole just the amount of delay and reverb he put with all the sound effects, and great intro song. I love that one.
Yeah, I enjoy it a lot. And like, if you're listening to this, you hear the intro music. We use that little clip from the Edge's version of the theme song from the Batman, as opposed to the new one. The new one, it was really like action packed. It almost kind of reminds you of some of the 60s music from the 60s series, It's almost like you would hear horn, you know, like kind of like almost like a, you know, the
Yeah.
sound you would hear with Biff Powell, Zoom, Wham,
Yeah.
whatever, you know, all that in
It's
there.
kind of a poor man's version of the Brave and the Bold theme we get later.
Yeah,
It's
which
not it's like trying to find its balance still for some
yeah,
reason.
yeah, that Brave and the Bold theme is awesome. I will say
Yeah.
that every time it comes on, I want to get up and dance. So
You'll
uh,
have to do a you have to do a quick video of your Brave and the Bold dance.
it's yeah, I'd say the second intro theme to the Batman is probably the weakest of
Right.
all the shows, I would say, you know,
Right.
that have, you know, actually have themes, Batman themes songs. So anyway, so we're back to this, that we're going to talk about the Laughing Bat, season 2, episode 4, and it's here we go again with the different listings of what episode and whatever, because I noticed too, Max had it listed as season 1, episode 17, and there's season 2, episode 4.
Right.
You don't know what the difference is. It's like, it's not just with the Batman, it's like every
Right.
one of these episodes of all the animated series have different numbering for some reason. I don't get
I,
it. You
I,
you
I,
have
rem-
any, you know why? I don't know. That's why I ask.
I don't know why they seem to change it after the fact. When I initially
Yeah.
bought the DVD sets for this show, there were 5 seasons, and now
Yeah.
I think it's listed as 4 seasons
Okay.
on HBO. So maybe they're just
Combining. Yeah.
combining. I really don't know the reason behind it, but I know we had talked last time about maybe the sometimes the production dates are a little different because maybe it was the scheduling of the actors or whatever. But as to this is 20 years later, so I have no idea why they
Because
switched stuff
the
around.
original, I had the the DVD original,
Mhm.
and I'm looking. That's why I'm kind of pausing. I had the original DVDs, and there were 5 seasons, just like you said. I have the Blu-ray, the complete series. I might as well just look. Hold on 1 second.
All right.
Got the complete series. And I'm just trying to see how it's divided, because I don't remember. Well, there's 4. Well, it's 6 discs. So, and it's been a while since I went through this. So
Mhm.
I'm not sure how it's divided up here. But I know it's 6 discs on this. But I believe it does include, let's see. There's some special features. So I think that may be on one of the discs, if I recall. So anyway, let's get to the episode at hand. Sorry
One
about
other
that
reason is
detour there.
they might
Yeah.
have yeah. Okay. I was going to say that the other reason is they might have it might have been 4 seasons, but they wanted to milk the consumer, so they stretched it to
Yeah.
5 when they
Yeah.
released the discs. That's about it.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, it's all out there in various forms if you want it. You want Blu-ray? Fine. You want a DVD? I'm sure you can find it on eBay or something. If you want to stream it, it's on Max. Is it also on Netflix now?
I don't know. I haven't
Didn't
watched
one of them move to
Netflix in a while.
Netflix? Okay. I'm just curious. I thought I heard some scuttlebutt that one of them moved. I thought it was this one. Anyway, so Laughing Bat, whatever. It's either season 1 or 2. It's either episode 4 or 17. And if you watch it on Blu-ray, who knows? It's written by Michael Jelonic, directed by I'm gonna butcher this. Sung Woo Kim.
That looks correct to me.
Okay. I'm sorry, Sung Woo Kim, if you're listening, if I mispronounced that. And original air date was June 4th, 2025, 18 years ago. Wow.
You mean 2005?
2005. What did I say?
2025.
Yeah.
You're thinking of the Batman.
Well, I'm thinking about the Batman. Yeah.
The other, the
Okay.
Batman.
Yeah. June 4th, 2005. Yes, 18 years ago. So the plot, it's pretty simple. The Joker decides that he can't beat Batman, so he's going to become Batman. Now, before we get into that, and that's basically it. I mean, that's the whole premise. And what did you think of one thing I really never jobbed with me was the aesthetic of the Joker in this series.
It's it all comes down to the bare feet. Yeah.
Yeah. It like it was like the green dreadlocks and the big red eyes. I don't
The big the not necessarily crooked teeth, but they're all like different shapes, but they lock in correctly, I guess. And yeah, you're right. The dreadlocks, the red eyes. It was a little uncharacteristic, but I guess they wanted to make it differentiate from the Mark Hamill version.
Yeah.
But what's his name? Kevin Michael Richardson.
Mm-hmm.
He does a great job. He was nominated
Yes.
for a couple Emmys as this, but you can tell almost every Joker past Mark Hamill is influenced by Mark Hamill.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you, did you get a Mark Hamill vibe from him? Yeah.
A lot of highs and lows, because Mark Hamill would do a real guttural thing like this every now and then, and then he would go up high and start laughing. Yeah. And you definitely get that from Kevin Michael Richardson. But no, I'm with you. I'm with you on the aesthetic. It's not exactly what we're used to. Unfortunately, we have to just sort of get used to it with this show.
And then with this weird kind of what was like the thing he's wearing is almost like a straitjacket type.
Oh yeah,
look,
yeah,
you know, right. With the stripes. I don't want to, spend a whole podcast talking about the way the Joker looked in the Batman, but that one was just kind of goofy,
This is the BOF fashion police break.
For sure. Yeah. So you have a lot of Joker things that we know from the comic. I mean, there's Joker gas, not particularly Joker venom or any of that, but he has, the Joker gas, and he is taking his Batman career even a step further than Batman, because he's like taking on or trying to take down quote unquote criminals for doing things like, what was it? Jaywalking,
graffiti, kids drawing with chalk on the sidewalk.
That one, that's a little scary for kids watching that, right? A little bit, you got these, kids out there.
And prior to that, they showed these up close images of these like lock-jawed, smiling victims of the Joker. Listen to me, the Joker, and that was a little unsettling. Even me, I'm watching it today, thinking about a 5-year-old watching it. I could see how that could be a little creepy for him. But yeah, you're right. He's going after kids. He's going after the cops when they speed. He's going after the mayor's wife for checking out 11 items at a 10-item register and stuff like that. A lot of funny stuff. I mean, it's all funny. But
it's very characteristic, I would say, of the Joker, what he would do if he was trying to be Batman, right? I mean, being really absurd with the crimes he's trying to thwart and the criminals he's trying to take down. It's like he calls, what's he call the kids, scum, to take down this scum, and it's just these little kids just doing graffiti, with chalk on the like all kids do. So,
and then he gives his bill to the mayor for $1 million for his services. He's basically he's blackmailing, holding the city a ransom. You pay me for this stuff I'm doing, or bad things will happen. I think that he's indicating that he's going to gas some more people or gas whomever he wants, but he's doing it anyway. So it doesn't make a lot of sense for the whole thing. But it's funny that it makes sense in his brain.
What did you think of his Batman costume? You can see the stitching on it, so it's like something he came up with. He still had his feet were barefoot.
Yeah, of course.
The
better to grip things, I guess. I like it. I think it's pretty funny. I like how the one ear is kind of flopped over the whole time, I think. I like the belt. The belt kind of was reminiscent of 66 a little bit. It looks like something that he would stitch together off of materials he would have around his whatever hideout he's in at the time. So I liked it. I thought it was funny. What about you?
It looked, I mean, we're talking about animation here, so you can't make it look like totally homemade looking. It's hard to do because just, the limitation. But the stitching, like you talked about, and the ear flopped over, and it's not completely this, like it doesn't really fit him just completely right. It's a little big, lopsided in a way,
saggy in some areas.
Yeah. So it was but it's fine. I mean, it's nothing I'm like, oh my gosh, that looks terrible. Nothing like
Well,
that.
I think that's part of the joke, is
Yeah.
he wants to be Batman, but aesthetically it's a joke too.
And the way he the gasses the people with those little snake looking things,
Right.
that was a little jarring. Maybe it's just because I'm like, that's one of my phobias are snakes, so maybe that's what bothered me about it. But still, if I'm a kid watching this, I'm thinking, that's a little scary right there.
Right. Yeah, I can see that.
You know what? It just hit me. You know what it reminded me of? And I'm not saying this is a nod to it, but didn't kind of the Joker Batman costume look like the ones that the two actors in the 40s wore in those Batman serials in a way?
Sure, I could see that as being them drawn from that a little bit, especially with the horns and everything. Because they didn't go straight up, and they were always a little bit baggy in certain places. Yeah. It does look very those look homemade, although they were studio made.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Because they're just basically go ahead.
Yeah, I have to say, it's amazing how those two costumes from the 40s were, they were trying to make them the best as they possibly could, and that's just what they were limited to at that time. And they do come off homemade. Whereas
budgets were like $1.85 for those productions.
Whereas in the Batman, in the movie, the suit that Robert Pattinson wears is supposed to look homemade, but it's
awesome.
It is awesome, and it's worth it's probably cost a lot of money to build that build that suit to make it look that way. So anyway, I digress.
He's got the funds to do it, that's for sure.
Yeah. So then at that point, Batman gets injected with the Joker gas, Joker venom, whatever, and so he's slowly becoming, the effects are hitting him, and he's laughing and kind of getting the Joker, the effects of it, the Jokerization of it. Did you get any vibe from, like, and this is way before then, so I'm not saying it's a nod to anything, because they did it first, kind of what ended up like the Batman Who Laughs,
it is interesting you say that, because there's a theory that I read online about this, that this may have been maybe not an inspiration, but started the wheel moving for that type of character. Like,
really?
Maybe someone thought of it. Yeah, that's just a theory, though. Not sure if there's any truth to it, but I think you're right. It is when he's jumping around and he's laughing as Batman, laughing at like him and the Penguin and that sort of stuff. I can see that being a possible inspiration a little bit.
That's Scott Snyder is the writer who created that character. I wonder if he was inspired by this episode. That's interesting, because I certainly thought, I knew watching it, well, so this is way before that, but this kind of reminds me of the Batman Who Laughs, especially some of the stories where he's not Bruce is not completely has lost complete control and is not completely under the total influence of the Joker, whatever's Jokerizing him, and I forget what it is with the Batman Who Laughs, but yeah, the slow progression up to that, it reminded me a lot of that. So maybe so,
I can see it.
And the reason he does that is because, or the reason why the Joker injects Batman or gasses him, whatever, he wants his own Joker. Since now he's Batman, he needs a Joker. So
I thought that was brilliant. That's plot point, or that story choice. And I loved seeing that kind of go down and Joker kind of saying, don't worry, you'll fully evolve soon. You'll be the Joker that I need or whatever. And I think that was great. I love episodes that take what we're used to seeing and kind of flip it on its head a little bit, because there's always some interesting discussion that comes out of it. And this episode certainly has that.
You got a lot going on. I admire these writers for all these shows, because you've got basically 20, 22 minutes or whatever a runtime is to tell a story from start to finish. And they are able to throw in like a little subplot. So it's not just, the main plot here is the Joker is now said he's going to become Batman. Then he throws in, Batman getting under the influence of the Joker gas, and then he's becoming the Joker. So we have that thing, and he's got to find a cure, all the while trying to stop, the Joker from this Batman thing he's doing. So there's like two things going on here, and they're able to wrap it up, at the end. So, hey y'all, it's Bill Ramey, founder of Batman on Film. Let's take a quick pause in this podcast for these words from our sponsor.
Right. I found one plot point about him coming up, and I think I sent you the note on that, is we never actually see him. He goes to Gotham Hospital to get a sample of the mayor's wife's blood. Yes. But we don't actually see him do it. So I guess we're to assume that he got it, but he starts, his laughing fit starts and he has to run out. But then you fast forward to the Batcave and he's figured it out. He knows what he needs to finish his solution for his antidote. But that's okay. We just assume he got it done.
It's like, look, it's like The Dark Knight Rises in a way, not totally, but like people look for plot holes in all movies, but that one is like, Bruce climbed out of the pit, but he's broke, and how does he get back to Gotham and without money and all that? I'm like, so did you need Nolan to spoon feed us that how he did it? Like, can't you just? Even watching it the first time, I always was like, well, he's Batman. He's got a plan. Do you not think he has like some access to resources, like almost in every country, in case something like that ever happened? Sure. It just didn't I never even blinked an eye. So it was always a stretch for me. Anyway, so I'm just going to assume that he got himself together enough to get the blood sample.
Well, it's not anything I would probably notice if I were watching this for pure entertainment value, but when we're trying to dissect it a little bit and discuss it, that's when it jumps out at me.
Yes. And it's I wouldn't have even noted your note. I read it and I watched the episode again, and then I noticed it. I didn't notice it just watching it. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Good point. And then we're getting toward the end here. Batman's got to have the Joker's blood, venom, or whatever. He needs something else to finish up, and then he's trying to do that. And he's having the Joker fits, and it's getting a little stronger. And then the Penguin shows up, which was always funny to me, because that was like, he was probably, and I don't have the set number, but just from just recalling it, my recollection is that the Penguin showed up more than any other villain in this series than the other members of the Rogues Gallery.
And it's interesting because the Penguin was the most used villain in the 66 show too. So I don't know if they did that on purpose here or not, or it just sort of happened. But you're absolutely right. I remember seeing him like over and over again in these. But I like the SpongeBob guy that does the voice, and he's
Tom
funny
Kenny.
to me.
I was gonna say, because my kids were little at this time, and they loved SpongeBob SquarePants. And every time I hear the Penguin, I think of SpongeBob. Every time. I can't not hear SpongeBob SquarePants when I watch any episode of this and the Penguin shows up.
Right.
How would you describe the reason the Penguin is in here? Because it's like brief, and there's almost a little bit of like, okay, really? But it makes sense in the end, right?
Well, he's he's breaking the law. So
Mhm.
the Joker Batman wants to take him down and set an example. And it gives a plot device as to where Batman can find the Joker right now, because he knows he's going to try to stop this crime instead of scouring the city while he only has a little bit of time left. I think he has like an hour or so before he's going to fully transform and be all lockjawed like the other victims, or die. I'm not sure. So bringing him in, plus it was a good excuse to have the three of them all fighting, and made for some good humor too, especially from the Penguin's point of view, because he's looking at the two Batman and he's thinking they're both insane because one of them is Joker, and then the other is like a laughing Batman. So I thought it was a good choice there, and it made for a good third act for them to all have a showdown, and for Batman to be able to. I mean, he's not. I don't know that he's. I guess he's trying to stop the Penguin as well, but he really wants that blood. But yeah, it all was, a big sort of a smorgasbord of Batman fun at that point. And
it doesn't come off bloated or unnecessary at all. It's a good little plot device for the finale and the conclusion.
And the Penguin even points out, why are you bothering me? He's like, I'm in the middle of a heist. You don't see me barging in on all your gas all of Gotham scheme. So they even made a point to say, why am I included in this, is basically what the Penguin is saying.
Yeah.
So they point that out to the audience, which is fun. So it's not like they don't understand, or the creators didn't know this might come off a little forced, but it didn't.
Yeah. Finish up just the plot and we'll talk about a few things, peripheral things. Batman ends up, he gets what he needs. He finalizes completing, preparing the antidote, cures himself, captures the Penguin and the Joker, and saves the day. So that's really how it ends, and as you would expect. And then, of course, he pulls off the Joker's cowl, and the Joker is laughing like he's probably thinks it's the funniest thing ever. And what's he say? That's the Joker I know, or what's the exact line?
Yeah, that's the Joker I know. Yep, that's it.
And there you hear laughter and boom, in credits. So, it was a fun little episode. I enjoyed hearing Adam West as the mayor. Mayor Grange. It was cool. I did laugh quite a bit. I won't say quite a bit. That's overdoing it. I did get a good laugh out of the Joker suit up scene as Batman, and he takes off in that little go-kart looking Batmobile thing, whatever. Yeah. So any things like that as you watch stand out that you thought were amusing, or
sure,
you thought that go ahead.
The Joker is it's a nod to Clark Kent. He's dressed up as Clark Kent essentially, and he says this looks like a job for the Batman, and he takes off the glasses. And it looks like he's sitting in a public library on his version of the Bat computer, looking for crimes to happen. I thought that was really funny. And then, as you said, jumps on his Joker Doom buggy or whatever it is, 4-wheeler, and takes off. Was funny. There's a lot of good lines in here. The Penguin, when he sees the two Batman talking it out, he says, well, seems you two have something to settle, so and he just starts walking off. And then Batman's got, he's got some funny lines. He says, if it isn't Dumb and Dumber, when he, lands and sees the two of them together. And he says that's an expensive omelet when the Fabergé eggs break and hit. But a lot of his jokes up to that point were pretty lame, because I think they were trying to point out that Bruce Wayne doesn't have the greatest sense of humor.
For sure. And it's I always thought, I wanted to ask you, I always thought the animation was really good for this series.
Yes,
it was very fluid. It didn't look a lot of times it came off looking better than some of the animated movies they've come out with, in a way,
right. I think it was influenced a lot by some of the action directors who would direct a lot of the anime overseas, because it felt that way to me when I saw it. It's fast paced action sequences. The fight sequences are top notch. And
Mhm.
I've always just, in this show, Batman is nearly unhittable unless he's like injected with Joker venom. And that's the way I've kind of always seen him. And they changed also. They made the Joker and the Penguin more of a physical challenge for Batman in this show, more so than any other. I mean, it seems like everyone is a martial artist and an acrobat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
Penguin flips up into the air and he's doing like 3 kicks before he hits the ground and stuff like that. It makes for great action sequences. I like that about this show. It is definitely a step up from, not to say anything bad about BTAS, but the action is faster and is smoother, sleeker, and you get a lot at once. A lot of quick cuts, which you didn't get as much as in the Batman animated series.
I would we can start wrapping this up, but I want to get you to bring up, because I found it interesting, the little research you did on the history of Joker dressing up like Batman or trying to pretend he's Batman. So tell us about that.
Sure. Yeah. So there may be more examples than this, but these are the ones that I actually looked up and found online. And there's one that I found after I sent you my notes. It goes back to Batman number 85 from 1954 in a story called Batman Clown of Crime. And if you hear that paper right there, that's not Batman 85, but it is. I'm holding a copy of Batman 182, which is an 80-page giant that has 6 stories in it, and that reprints that story called The Joker Batman in it. So I flipped through and I wanted to see what the deal was, and there's like a laser that makes the Joker and Batman switch brains. So the Joker's in Batman's body, Batman Joker's body. And at no point does Joker decide, let me go find a mirror and take this mask off and see who Batman really is. He just runs around as Batman the entire time until they eventually switch. And then after that, there's Detective 341 from 1965 called The Joker's Comedy Capers, where he's dressed up as Batman to fool Robin. And then I didn't find anything until recent books, Joker's 80th anniversary, Batman, and then the Tom King Batman number 99, Joker War, and number 100 from James Tynion, Joker Year of the Villain, which is a great. Did you ever read that one? The one that John Carpenter wrote with another writer?
I did, but it's been a while. Yeah.
Where he basically dresses up in he takes a young kid around town with him. He dresses up as the 66 outfit a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a creepy little nod. That's a great one. So he does that there. And then a recent one from 2023, Joker, the Man Who Stopped Laughing, number 5. And supposedly he has a homemade costume in that. So there's been a few instances, and there's a lot of toys that have nods to the Jokerized Batman. In fact, McFarlane just did one for the Dark Knight.
I saw that. Yeah.
What do you think of those? He did one for Batman and Joker.
I wasn't a big fan of that for some reason. I guess I would rather have just the Batman one, not the
Joker
switcheroos or I mean, if I found one, it was a good price, I'd probably pick it up, but it's not something like I'm going to pre-order. Does that make sense? Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, I don't have any of the 7-inch figures like that. I have a couple of the Funko Pops. Like there's they did a whole series of Funko Pops called Batman Impopster instead of Imposter, where they made Batman into every one of his villains, like they had all dressed up like him. And there's one called the Joker Batman or something, and then they did one called the Joker's Wild. So those are kind of cool. But I wanted to ask you about what was the deal with the first Suicide Squad movie with that Jokerized Ben Affleck suit? There were a lot of pictures of that going around, but was that in a deleted scene or anything?
Hey, let me think.
I never saw what the deal was, or was that something they just made for promotional.
I think it was just have heard nothing of anything about that being something that was actually filmed or a plot. So I'm just assuming based on that it's just was marketing publicity type stuff. So
Right.
I'd forgotten about that till you brought it up. But yeah, I don't think it was anything of any substance, even though we know there's a lot of stuff from that first Suicide Squad movie that didn't make the final cut. A lot of Joker stuff, but I don't think that's part of it.
Okay. I remember, I mean, I'm not a big fan of that movie, but I remember seeing it in the theater and was kind of disappointed because those images had leaked online prior to us.
I remember that there was a big deal about that being something, and I don't think it was anything. If that makes any sense whatsoever.
They eventually released a toy of it from Hot Toys, but it's so expensive. Not that I would necessarily want it or anything. I just was curious.
I forgot about that. But those Funko Pops. See, you got me thinking. That sounds interesting. And I'm gonna get off this show and I'm gonna go on eBay and see if they exist anywhere. All right. So, what's your just final thoughts on the episode?
I'd give it 4 out of 5 batarangs for sure.
Okay.
I thought it was a solid A. Like I said earlier, I love when you look at something from a different perspective and having the Joker be Batman. And I don't think there is another cartoon. I mean, there could be one in the '68 show where Joker dresses up as Batman. This might be our only instance. Can you think of another?
I can't. I'm thinking right now. So hey, if you're listening and you know of one, email me. I would like to know, but as I can't think of any other in any other series except for this one where you had this plot line. So yeah, I'd like to know if it exists in another Batman animated series for sure.
Yeah. Oh, one other quick side note. I wanted to know what the earliest instances of instance was of the Joker and Penguin fighting, and it goes back to their first team up, Batman 25 from 1944. So they couldn't they couldn't hit the ground running without fighting each other. So I thought that was interesting.
It is. And real quick, speaking of the Penguin, what did you think about the Penguin's aesthetic in the Batman?
I thought the kind of the flipper hands was and the umbrella helicopter that he had was sort of a nod to Batman Returns, because he had the same hands in BTAS, so they kept that, but then they changed his overall look. They make him a little more rotund. They gave him the red hair. I actually liked the Penguin in this one, but his aesthetic was cool for me. I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was a little more on point than Joker's.
Yeah,
for
sure. It was nothing like you go, oh my gosh, you see that if you just see a drawing of that the Penguin from the show, you go, oh, that's the Penguin. You know what I mean?
Right. Sure.
You probably say it was the Joker because it was kind of obvious with the green hair and all that, but it's not as it wasn't not as much of a big change look wise than we've seen before. So yeah,
they did give him the shark teeth, like he always has these pointed teeth, almost like a I don't know what kind of teeth Penguin have, but he certainly looks like a predator.
Yeah, that was a little different, but yeah, he was fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, with that, I mean, I liked it a lot. I think it's probably one of the better episodes of the series, and there are a lot of good ones. So if you have never watched it, check it out. So with that,
absolutely,
that'll do it for this episode. So anything you want to mention or plug before we get out of here?
I would just say just go to Batman on Film, where you get all your Batman news on a daily basis.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Pretty much. Yep. Thank you. I'll second that. And with that, announcer Rachel, we did not get she did not crash this podcast as she did the last one I was on. So,
you talked about, or some of the people on the Facebook page talked about how you guys need a show together. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, what life is like living with such a big Batman Dallas Cowboys and
That's
Elvis
funny.
fan
Yeah.
from her perspective. I mean, certainly would be an interesting little series or maybe a show or whatever.
We talked about doing a show, and actually, and it just got away from us. And I'm going to bring it back up. I had her read Batman Year One.
Okay.
And I was going to do announcer Rachel talks Batman comics, and I was going to talk, so that's something we're going to do again. I'll have her read it again, and we'll do a show. But yeah,
so you didn't do the initial show after she read it?
He's never we just never did it. We read it, but we didn't follow through. That's probably my fault. So, but yeah, that's a good idea. So
yeah, I think everyone would enjoy that, I'm sure.
I can promise you, she was not a Batman fan other than just seeing the movies when she was growing up until she met me. And then I wouldn't say she's a Batman fan, but she's knows a whole hell of a lot more about Batman than she ever planned on,
Understood.
In her life, I'm sure. I'm
Indirectly,
sure.
she got it. She knows it all, and probably now.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yes. She knows a lot now for sure.
Right.
So,
well, my wife LaFawn is in the same boat there. So
yeah, it's she appreciates it. I mean, she's got to do some cool stuff through Batman on film. So
I'm sure our wives would have a lot to talk about.
I'm sure. I would have. One day I'll tell the story of us walking into elevator. It was out during the Dark Knight press junket, and we were there at the hotel. Well, hell, I'll just tell the story now, and then we'll get out of here. So we're at the Dark Knight press junket. It's 2008. We're at the hotel where we're having it, and it's the day of all the interviews and stuff. And so we were going to go up to the upper floor where everything was going on. And so I was like, okay. Like I was a Mr. No, like a big shot then, because I'd done this a few times. I was like, okay, you're going to see people here today that are famous that so you got to play it cool. And so just as I said that, we're waiting on the elevator opens up, it's kind of full. So I said, we'll just wait. And someone goes, oh, we got room, come on in. So I walked in. Well, she walked in and she was turned around, facing me, and I walked in after her, and my back was kind of to the side, like I was like facing the door. I was facing the back of the elevator, so my backside was kind of facing the door. And I saw her eyes get big as silver dollars, and I kind of turned around, and it was Christian Bale,
of course,
right there. Yeah,
and he said, he said, "Where's the trigger?"
Yes. And he was he was filming that Terminator movie. Did you remember he did a Terminator movie? Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. And it's John Connor. He was filming that, and he had a break. He was there to do the press for The Dark Knight, and he was kind of controlling what floors people. He was pushing the buttons on the thing for what the people would say what floor, and he's the one that said, "Oh, come on in." So and he was speaking in American accent. He wasn't because he was doing the Terminator, and he was John Connor, so he was doing the the American accent for that film. So he stays talking
in character, so to speak.
Yeah,
maybe not character, but accent. That's for sure.
I never interviewed him for those 3 films where he wasn't speaking in his American Bruce Wayne accent.
Cool.
Every time. And it was funny because a couple times, or all 3, this was after the movie, but he was still, never heard him speaking a British accent in person. So during that thing.
Yeah, he has a strong Welsh accent. I mean, he is, when you hear him, I remember when he got the Oscar, and he got up there and he was talking about how he's not going to curse because he had cursed on the set a lot of, and it was just like, wow, you're hearing him for real, It's always fun. But yeah, he does a great American accent.
Yeah, so there's a little side note. There's a little Batman 25 and 25th anniversary little side.
Yeah, I love hearing your stories about that sort of stuff.
And there, see get the look on her face. There's Christian Bale. Yep, right there, right next to me, and she's just and she's like and then we get off. She goes, "Oh my God, I'm gonna text somebody right now." You know.
Well, I'll save my story about Officer Martinez from the Batman giving me a hug. Giving me a hug on set recently. I'll save that for the next show.
Like almost my favorite character from the Batman. All right, so announcer Rachel. Speaking of announcer Rachel, she will finish up here. We will catch you next time.
Thanks for listening to Batmanimation, a BatmanOnFilm.com podcast revisiting the animated TV and film adventures of the Caped Crusader. Follow Batmanimation on Twitter @Batmanimation. Follow BOF on Twitter @TheBatmanOnFilm. Follow Jett on Twitter @BatmanOnFilm. For Jett and Team BOF, I'm announcer Rachel. Batman on Film, authoritative, definitive, the original, established in 1998.